Okay, ready, Scotty?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Hi, everybody. My name's Trisha Hershberger, and I'm a huge Tolkien fan. And Jason and I decided to get together and nerd out about Tolkien together because Jason's my go-to Tolkien friend to nerd out with. Jason?
Definitely. I'm Jason Charles Miller. I am a Tolkien aficionado as well. Other things I do is I'm a musician and a voice actor and a music producer and things like that. We met playing a role-playing game.
We did. Yeah. Foreververse.
So, mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was over on Geek and Sundry. But yeah, I mean, Jason's an incredible multi-hyphenate. You probably know his music and his voiceover talents from the interwebs. And I normally cover tech and gaming. So we're kind of, I feel like neither of us have really, like, done a Tolkien series before, right? Like, I know you've appeared as, like, a Tolkien expert on shows as a guest.
Oh, right. Yeah. Even on Geek and Sundry, we did some lore masters back in the day. We always thought, if we could, we should do something together on Tolkien. So here we are. And what a better time to do it than now.
Yes, because Rings of Power is coming out September 2nd, and we just got that teaser trailer during the Super Bowl. Now that the teaser trailer's out, I feel like a lot of people have a lot of questions, ourselves included. So we thought, let's go ahead and do a little, screen grab by screen grab breakdown, and chat about it on the interwebs with you guys. All right, so should we just dive into the trailer?
Yeah, totally.
Let's do it. I'll start it up. Okay, tell me when you want to stop. Boom.
What
were you gonna say? Are you stopping on the same thing as me?
What, the sun?
Yes!
Yeah. Clearly we're in Numenor.
There's been some speculation that maybe this is some kind of elven kingdom we're looking at, but for multiple reasons, I think it's the Isle of Numenor.
Look, my first instinct was that it was an elven kingdom, that maybe it was the island at the beginning of the Undying Lands. But once it goes a little further and you see the mountain in the background, which is Meneltarma, the mountain in the middle of Numenor, I was like, that's got to be Numenor. Plus, actually, if you fast forward it a little bit more, do you want to stay on the sun first?
Well, I was just going to say,
for
the sun emblem, so this is the same sun emblem that we saw on one of the character poster teasers.
Right, on the sword pommel.
Yes, that Rings of Power tweeted out. A lot of people have speculated that this might be Elendil, the father of Isildur, the first king of both realms, Arnor and Gondor, and therefore the first High King of Dunedain.
Who you see at the very beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring movie.
Yes.
If you're a movie fan.
Played by a different actor.
You see him at the very beginning. He's the one whose sword was broken.
If this is indeed the sun emblem of Elendil, like people think it is, then that would lend further credence to the fact that we are probably looking at Numenor here in this opening shot. Right.
And if that's the symbol of Elendil, then we're probably not looking at the capital city. We're probably looking at, there was a port to the west. This probably is, if that is the sun symbol of Elendil.
Also, I know Jason and I had a total freak out moment when Rings of Power, and at the time we didn't know it was called Rings of Power, it was just Lord of the Rings on Prime, tweeted out a map that had Numenor above the water, like the Isle of Numenor on the map that you could clearly see, and we were both like, Second Age! Like, I started texting Jason right away. I was like, they're doing the Second Age! So it makes sense now in the teaser if they were like, hey, Numenor, remember that? That's where we're going.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the story to tell. That's the story that everyone's excited about, and I think has pretty much been confirmed now between the Vanity Fair piece and everything we know that we are probably going to see maybe the rise and fall or the fall of Numenor. I think that's where we're going with this. So... Continue. I know you said once we kind of go a little further.
Boom, that statue. So what does that remind you of?
The Argonaut.
Right, exactly. That's when I realized, okay, this probably is Numenor. Now, the interesting thing is, with Meneltarma in the background, the Isle of Numenor is roughly a star-shaped island. And the mountain is in the middle. So this could be anywhere. We don't know.
It could be, and I'm not remembering the map exactly right now, but isn't there, I think there's a port to the west, the north, and the east of
and
the Isle of Numenor?
The capital city is the one to the east.
Okay. But yes, if this is Mount Meneltarma in the beginning, which is the holy mountain of Numenor, if that is that in the center, yes, you're correct. We could be anywhere, and a lot of people speculate that that is indeed the mountain we're looking at. Again, further proof that we are looking at Numenor. Who do you think is the Argonath-like statue that we're looking at?
My guess is that is a statue of Elros Elrond's brother.
Yes, Elrond's half elven. That's what I thought too.
Yeah. Erendil and Elwing, when they gave birth to Elrond and Elros, they were given a choice to either stay mortal or be immortal because they have both elven and human blood in them. And so Elrond chose to be immortal. Elros chose to be mortal, but was made the first king of Numenor and actually lived like over 400 years. So that's still pretty good.
And I think that a lot of people get confused kind of when you look at Tolkien lore and think that Boromir and Aragorn and, you know, all of these characters are humans as we know them today, and think like maybe D&D race human life expectancy versus elven life expectancy, but actually the Dunedain live much longer than humans as we know them in other fantasy games or literature. So they're not really human. Like we say that, I think, colloquially, but technically they're Dunedain, and it's because of this exact arrangement that you're talking about. Right,
they're like superhuman, and their line has a little bit of elvish blood in them. So, I mean, look, it's sort of, you know, it's murky, but, you know.
But important to keep in mind. Okay, so if this is Numenor that we're looking at, it's beautiful. I can't wait to see more of it. This is one of the shots for me that when I'm looking at Rings of Power, you know, wherever you lie along the, I'm super excited for this, or I'm worried that, you know, it's not going to be everything I wanted it to be, wherever you kind of lie on that expectation spectrum, I always say it, I'm excited to see more of Middle-earth on screen.
Totally.
And this is a shot to me that, you know, that looked like what I was hoping to see.
Right.
I would say, you know, not every shot in the teaser met those expectations, but this one certainly did, and I'm very excited to see more of this.
I believe John Howe, who was one of the two art directors of the Peter Jackson films, is involved with the art direction of the show. So already that makes me feel good that we're going to see the Middle-earth that we expected to see.
I hope so. I heard season 2 of filming is going to no longer take place in New Zealand, and that makes me very hesitant as someone that has been to Hobbiton in New Zealand, and it is amazing. But, you know, we will see.
Well, I may bring this up again later, but I think they're going to Mandalorian it. Meaning, like, there's going to be a lot of screens and things. So
they might.
You know, I don't know. It's possible.
They might.
You know, it works for the Mandalorian, so we'll see. That new technology where it's not a green screen, but there's a background, projected background behind it.
Which does look very cool. I think a lot of us, myself included, are going to have to measure our expectations that this is a different thing than Peter Jackson's films. It is. It's going to look different. I think many of us are huge fans of the original Lord of the Rings cinematic trilogy. So trying to just repeat, this is a different thing, and it's going to look different, and that's okay.
All right. Okay. Stop.
Okay.
My first thought was, what the heck is this? So I first saw these two guys in the Vanity Fair picture. Right. When it's like a behind the scenes shot, I think. Where
and what did they call them? Like the wandering nomads or something like that? Yeah,
very, very nebulous. Okay, first of all, your first thought is they look like wings, right? They look like these weird bone wings.
I thought they were antlers, but yes, bone wings for sure. But I was like, what are these creatures with these gigantic antlers?
Right. Now, upon further investigation, it's my belief that they are hunters that just hunted some moose. But anyway, so I think they're carrying them on their back. I don't think that, like, they've created a new creature for us. Because that would be really strange if they did.
It would be strange, but who knows? Yeah. I mean, this teaser and the character posters in that Vanity Fair article are really all we have to go off of. So this is all speculation. And I don't know. I think you're right. I think it could be hunters that are just carrying these things. But also, why would you carry them like that?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It seems like there would be many easier ways to carry said antlers. Maybe they're not antlers. Maybe they are wings.
I mean, I hope not. I'm really hoping not. I read online also that maybe they're on their back to sort of try to camouflage themselves in some way. But I'm thinking to myself, they're huge and heavy. Like, why would you wear that to camouflage yourself and then try to go after something when you have those big things on your back? But now here's another theory that I heard, and there could be some credence to this. Maybe those aren't giant moose antlers. Maybe they're regular size moose antlers, And those two hunters are proto-hobbits. You're going to hear a lot about proto-hobbits.
Now, I have actually not heard the term proto-hobbit. When you say proto-hobbit, do you mean Harfoot?
I mean Harfoots.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, another term for Harfoots is proto-hobbits. So, as a lot of Tolkien nerds know, in the Second Age, you don't really hear about hobbits yet. Right. So hobbits don't really exist. But, of course, if you're a casual fan of Lord of the Rings, you think hobbits right away.
Sure.
So I think it's obvious that they wanted that, the folks at Amazon were like, look, we still got to have hobbits. It's Lord of the Rings.
People love hobbits.
Hobbits got to be there.
We got to have the hobbits up in here.
I mean, I see an executive like pounding on a table going, give me hobbits.
People love the hobbits. And
right.
I mean, so we saw, you said in the Second Age, kind of like hobbits don't exist. So hobbits are coming into Khazad-dum as we know it, if you will. But I mean, Harfoots exist, which still have similar round features.
Right.
They still have very hairy feet and don't wear shoes. They're good at being sneaky, and it's actually one of 3 breeds of proto-hobbit at that time.
The other ones are fallow hides, and I can't remember the third one right now. But they all sort of become what eventually are known as hobbits.
Right, and I think they're in the Second Age. I think it's in the Second Age. I could be wrong. It might be Third Age, but I think the Dunedain are the ones that rename them from Harfoots to halflings, getting us on the journey to hobbits as we know them in the cinematic. And
I think hobbits is actually a name that they give themselves.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. But so that's a good point. These could be Harfoots, just tinier with regular size antlers. Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of Harfoot,
all right, now. This shot this is the first shot that I did get a little nervous.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Because the way it's lit and the way it looks, I was like, wait, are they going for like a hook thing here? Like, is Peter Pan about to fly through that shot?
It does.
It feels very Lost Boys Peter Pan.
It feels very Lost Boys Peter Pan. To me, I thought, what is that series right now with the kid that's part fawn?
Oh, yeah. With the antlers.
Yes,
I can't remember.
That's what this made me think of.
Yeah.
And so I was like, are we looking at some type of childlike satyr here? No, I mean, at this point, we're pretty sure...
Sweet Tooth. Right?
Sweet Tooth is the name of it.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. But when I first saw this, I was like, we've got a fawn kid in this series. This is definitely Harfoot from all signs pointing of everything that we have currently to describe this series.
And I believe she's the narrator of the trailer, too. So this is coming from her point of view.
Interesting. So then I wonder, the things that kind of look like, whatever's going on in the head dressing... I mean, are we getting, like, Radagast flashbacks here? Is this just like, I live 100%. In the woods and there's woodsy stuff in my hair? Is that,
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that is a nod. Maybe that's a nod to Peter Jackson's Radagast. I don't know.
Maybe.
Because I don't recall in the books ever reading that Radagast had bird poop in his hair. That was definitely a cinematic addition.
It was a choice.
Yeah.
If this character's our narrator of the teaser... I'm guessing, lead us to guess, I would say, that much as in The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, we kind of see the story through the eyes of a hobbit, because it's the small, everyday folk that we can best relate to. And so maybe they're taking that kind of same storytelling, mechanic to take us through Rings of Power, where we will be, most closely associating with a Harfoot telling the story. I don't know.
At least part of it.
At least part of it.
Because the Harfoots were definitely not on Numenor. Yeah. So I think if they go that far, I'll be like, come on. The show, at least for the first few seasons, is going to be a lot of, here's what's happening on Numenor, here's what's happening on the mainland.
Yep.
On Eriador. And so maybe we will get a Harfoot perspective for at least part of the story.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Continuing on with the trailer, because I have theories about what the Harfoot perspective is going to be.
Okay. Before the King.
Right. Icy waterfall.
Boom. Clearly Galadriel.
Galadriel.
But, it's kind of a cheat because we know who the actress is that's playing Galadriel.
We know the casting. Yes.
We know that that's Morfydd Clark. Mm-hmm. Okay. A lot of things to digest here. Mm-hmm. Her dagger, which we also saw in the
character portraits.
The posters. Mm-hmm. So you can't see it in this shot, but the dagger actually has a silver side and a gold side. It's
beautiful, really. As someone that's like a huge nerd
you're gonna get
for fantasy weapons.
You're totally getting that.
Do we know if they're using Weta again or if they went a different route?
I know that they're using Weta Digital.
fingers
But like,
crossed.
if
Weta
they
makes
make 100
gorgeous
of those,
stuff.
you're getting like number 1.
You know
out
I
of
will.
100.
I have my my
Right.
sting. Yeah. Oh yeah. I have fantasy swords mounted throughout my home.
Yeah. She does.
In particular, Weta pieces. I absolutely love Weta prop replicas. Anyway, that was my shout out to Weta. # not sponsored. But Weta, if you're interested, hey, I already own half their stuff. So I mean, this dagger, being the half silver, half gold, looks absolutely stunning, and we're seeing Galadriel use it here to hang on to an icy cliff.
And something about the design of it, I believe that it represents the 2 trees of Valinor, because they gave off a silver and golden light. And there's even, if we look at the poster later, there's 3 little spheres underneath that, and I'm wondering if that represents the 3 Silmarils.
Maybe, and we'll get we'll get into what Amazon has the rights to and what they don't in regards to the Silmarillion versus, the untold stories and all that.
The list.
We'll get into that after we go step by step through the breakdown, but there's a really interesting discussion to be had there as well. Also, in this, we can see that there are other people in the background. She is not hanging on this icy cliff herself. Is she crossing the Helcaraxid?
Right.
That's
exactly.
how you say it, Helcaraxid?
I've heard people say Helcaraxid, and I've heard people say Helcarax. So
okay.
I'm not sure. We're gonna have
it's
to
an
consult.
icy bridge
we're
that exists
simply
in the north, connecting Arnor to Middle Earth.
And we're simply Tolkien researchers. We're not Tolkien experts.
Oh, I will. There is so much Tolkien lore that you would have to dedicate. Like, I'm sure there's places out there that give like degrees in this stuff. No,
yeah.
I am a self-proclaimed enthusiast.
Yeah. But we can use the moniker researcher.
Sure.
But that's about it. Kind of like alien researchers.
There
we're
you
Tolkien
go.
researchers.
Yes, exactly. But we could say, are they crossing the Helcaraxid? I think Vanity Fair came out and was like, no, it's not that.
Yeah. So, exactly. So,
which is so sad, because that would be such a good part of the history to tell.
I wish that they just hadn't said anything at all, and that and that we could dream that we would see the Helcaraxid.
That would be amazing.
What Vanity Fair said was that it's her in the Forodwaith seeking out the last remnants of Morgoth and Sauron.
Got it.
In revenge
of
for
her
the
brother.
death of her brother. Which, I mean,
who we see in this teaser. Anyway, we'll get to that.
So I don't know if that must be a flashback.
It's got to be a flashback.
Yeah. I read somewhere that the first 2 episodes of the show are going to cover the First Age a lot, and they're going to feel like a movie within itself.
Cool.
So we will get a lot of First Age stuff, from what I understand, in episodes 1 and 2. That will set up everything else.
I would love to see some First Age battles. Yeah. I am definitely down for that. And I think for the casual Tolkien fan, or even just the casual fantasy television fan, a lot of people are in it for the big battles.
Yeah, true.
So, I mean, kicking off the first 2 episodes with a couple big battles is probably a smart move on Amazon's part from a marketing perspective as well.
It gives you that take your breath away moment. You know?
Right, and this is the most expensive TV show ever made. Spend that battle money.
they spent $250 million just to get the rights to do it.
Yeah. Going back to them crossing the Helcaraxid, and again, this will tie into our what Amazon has the rights to versus what they don't have the rights to conversation later. The Helcarax or Helcaraxid is only listed it's only talked about in the Silmarillion, right?
Right. So we'll get to that later on
We're
this
going to
list.
get a full breakdown. But
actually, I don't even have the full list because it's so long I couldn't transcribe the whole thing. But anyway.
But we tried.
Yeah. I got all the First Age stuff as much as I could.
But yeah, Amazon, so the short story is, like I said, we'll break it down later, but the short story is that Amazon does not have the rights to the Silmarillion. So a lot of the stuff that a lot of Tolkien scholars are saying, oh wait, I hope we see this about the First or Second Age.
You may or may not.
They may or may not even be able to.
Right.
Or if they're changing the story drastically, it might be for legal reasons at that point.
I've been told that representatives of the Tolkien estate are consultants on this. Mm-hmm. There's also Tolkien lore experts.
They have said that, which...
but I do know that one got fired, so I don't know what that's all about. But we're having fun right now, so we won't get too into the weeds of that. But so what they said was that as long as they don't egregiously change the lore, and a lot of people have been focusing on that word egregiously.
Sure, I mean that's subjective,
right? But you know what? Look at it this way. So I feel, that Peter Jackson wanted to show what else was happening with the War of the Ring during the 3 movies that he made.
Sure.
And so therefore, when he had the Elves of Lorien show up at Helm's Deep, which they didn't in the book, to me, as a Tolkien fan, I was fine with that because the Elves of Lorien did fight somewhere else. But it would have been too hard to kind of show that happening at the same time. So he just brought them to Helm's Deep. So stuff like that could happen. And, I mean, you could argue that was an egregious change of lore. But,
egregious is totally subjective. I could be like, Disa, the not bearded dwarf, by nature of the fact that she has no beard,
right.
is egregiously changing lore. It's subjective. It is. We'll get to that. But before we move on from Galadriel, I have heard her described in the Vanity Fair article as angry and brash. When we see her here, right? Which I'm like, one could also say is egregiously changing the lore. But we will have to see. That made me a little nervous that Galadriel's described as seeing her as angry and brash, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but in Tolkien lore, elves in general, much due to their longer lifespan, don't tend to be very hot-headed like humans.
Not really.
Because they've got lots of time and have learned from the wisdom of time to be more tempered in their approach to things. So that feels a little off.
She's already thousands of years old here.
Yes.
Even.
Right.
Yeah, and I think what Tolkien showed us too is the elves that do get hot-headed, they always bring about their doom.
Right. They don't live very long.
Like Fëanor, Eöl, basically any Daeron, any elf that's a jerk always gets it in the end.
I mean, okay. Also, only other thing I wanted to talk about in this shot specifically is Galadriel's the stars on her shoulder.
A lot of people are saying they're the stars of Fëanor, but it could also just be maybe the star of the elves. We don't know what they've done with the lore to maybe they've combined that, because Fëanor's father was Finwë, the very first king of the Noldor elves. She's a Noldor elf. Maybe that symbol is just the symbol of the Noldor elves. I don't know what they're... I mean, traditionally it's Fëanor's star, but we don't know.
And I've seen people speculate that this may have ties to Lyndon, she's in their service at this point in time when we see her. Again, all speculation because we won't know until...
Which is so weird because I think... Didn't you tell me that, you read something where she was described as, not only brash, but that she was, an unknown trying to make it in the world?
Yeah, it was like that we're gonna see this story of her going from, a relative... nobody to who she is in the Peter Jackson films, and I'm like, Galadriel's never a relative nobody.
No,
not even close.
No, I mean, she's a princess of all the elves. How can you be a relative nobody?
I understand, so I'm hoping that that's either I misread it or misinterpreted something, or someone had misspoke, because I understand from a storytelling perspective that it's fun to see the everyday person rise to glory, but Galadriel's not that character.
Right. No.
Not to do that with, from everything we know about her.
All right. Whoa. Okay. So
stop at the shipwreck.
Yeah, ship guy. So we've been told
ship guy. We should just call him Ship Guy.
Yeah. So Ship Guy. We've been told that Ship Guy is a new character named Halbrand.
Right.
That they made up for the show.
New for the show, not book canon at all.
No. And look, this is what's going to happen in this show.
Totally.
Because of all the holes that they've got to fill, and like I brought up the Mandalorian screens, someone said. If you look at it in the same sense of Star Wars fandom, meaning there's a whole Star Wars universe and different stories take place in it. I think that's what Amazon is trying to do here, is in Middle Earth and Arda in general, we can tell other stories in Tolkien's universe. If they've got the rights to do it and they can do it well, then more power to them.
Well, and I agree with that. I think there are many, many stories, if this is a living, breathing world, that we are to expect is real. I know a lot of people in the Hobbit films were upset about the character of Tauriel being added. Just because in the Hobbit novel no female elves are mentioned does not mean that female elves did not exist.
Right.
And I think the same thing here. Obviously, there are more characters in existence in Middle-earth, or in Arda as a whole. So I'm okay with seeing other stories. I don't feel like that's an egregious departure.
No, I'm fine with that too. In fact, I mean, Unfortunately, they don't have, and I thought that they did, and I think you and I talked about this when we saw the map. I'm like, oh, they must have the rights to the unfinished tales.
Yes.
Because, but apparently they said that they don't.
Oh, I thought they did.
They don't. I thought they did too. So they don't have the rights to the unfinished tales. So that means that they've got to tell Second Age stories only off of the books that they have. But here's the thing.
Okay.
They're going back and forth with the Tolkien estate, right?
Yeah.
The map that they famously posted on Twitter last year that freaked us out.
Yeah.
It has the names of certain regions that are only in unfinished tales. So they've got the rights to say those names, so maybe there's some wiggle room there.
Maybe.
You know?
And I mean, I think the interesting thing about us seeing Halbrand in this shipwreck is it appears that this is where Halbrand might be meeting Galadriel for the first time.
Right,
and
yeah.
so there have been lots of rumors, and it's entirely speculation, that Halbrand is maybe somebody else that we know from the later cinematic universe, since the timelines are being condensed and whatnot. I think Halbrand was described in the Vanity Fair article that we keep referencing as a fugitive from his own past, which has led some folks to speculate, like, is this who we will see in the future as Aragorn? Is this, like,
oh, really?
Yeah, people are really. I don't know. People are. I mean, it's a character
really
we don't know. It's really smushing the timeline if they do that. But it's a fugitive running from his past that exists in the Second Age and meets Galadriel in the teaser. Those are really the bullet points we have for Halbrand.
And are they calling him Halbrand now and he's going to be somebody else later? I mean, they know that there's people like us out there that are digging this thing, and if so who knows who that could be at the end. All right.
Next shot.
So with this shot, you see clearly an elf catching an arrow that's being shot at him.
At a friend. He's saving a friend.
You're right. Yeah, who's a friend who's down on the ground too. So he's catching an arrow and then puts it back in his bow and shoots it back.
Which is awesome!
Yeah.
We know this is a new character. This is another new character created for the show, whose name is Arondir.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know much else about Arondir, except for from this shot, he's a super badass warrior.
Yeah.
That's what we know. I am a huge fan of on-screen combat. So I hope we get to see shots like this where we really get to see how much better at fighting elves are.
Oh yeah.
Than the Dunedain. Really than a lot of the other races that are out there. But I want them to showcase that. And again, this is as a result of them living so much longer, being able to train so much longer, their innate senses and abilities being heightened. And so that's something that I feel like the more casual Tolkien fans, I mean, you have an idea because Legolas seems very OP in the movies, but like I really want to see it.
OP,
I really want to see it, and this shot in the teaser, despite the fact that yes, it's a new character created for the series, that from a fight choreo perspective, this got me excited about what's to come.
Remember, this trailer was for the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So this was for basically the world. This trailer is not for Tolkien freaks. You know what I mean? It's for the everyday person.
Well, and this is just a teaser.
Right. Yeah, so it's a teaser.
Yep.
It's not really for us. They know we're going to watch it no matter what.
They know, yes, we are tuning in.
And they probably know, like, even if we don't like it, we're still going to watch it 10 times and be like, this is why we don't like it. So they've got it. They've got it.
Yes.
So what I think this shot is showing the world, the general public, is, hey, remember Legolas? Boom! Here's how badass elves are.
Oh, yes, for sure. And it's a quick shot, but I think a powerful one. All right.
Before the ring.
The meteor!
Okay, so much. Yeah, so we got Meteor, and don't get me started on Meteor Man. That's coming.
We're coming. We're getting a Meteor Man. Or I'm calling him Mystery Man. You can call him whatever you want. We'll get to that. But for right now, we have a fireball shooting through the sky and an elf who is reacting.
A concerned elf.
A concerned elf. We can assume this is Gil-Galad?
Yes, and it's been confirmed.
It has been confirmed. Gil-Galad, the last High King of the Noldor.
The gold that you see are actually gold leaves.
And they are. And not gold leaves like golden leaflets, like leaves like from trees, like the trees from Linden.
Right. which is all that remains of Beleriand is Lindon. So Beleriand was the kingdom of the elves in the First Age, which was destroyed at the end of the First Age when the Valar came and combined with the elven forces and destroyed Morgoth. It threw a bunch of Middle Earth under the sea, never to return.
Yeah, like you said, it's Tolkien's Atlantis. Gil-Galad, if this is been confirmed, this is Gil-Galad.
That's Gil-Galad.
Is Galadriel's great nephew?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be a little weird because at least in terms of the actors who are portraying these roles, I feel like at least in this shot, Gil-Galad looks older than Galadriel.
True. But I mean, like,
they're in elven years.
If you're 6,000 and I'm 4,000, like, does it really make a difference at this point?
But just so so that everybody knows, yes, Gil-Galad is a huge deal in the Second Age and is related to Galadriel.
Oh, he was also at the very beginning, obviously portrayed by a different actor, but he's at the very beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring. Also, he's the guy, the elf warrior that's like, ugh, the spear right into the guy. You know that shot. Everybody knows that shot.
Yes. So tying it all in. But I mean, these are the characters that they can tie it in with. Makes me a little hesitant when they're saying, oh, we're condensing timelines to give you more characters you know and love. And I'm like, we already have lots of characters, though, that exist through the Second and Third Age. So I'm like, please don't condense so much that, we'll see. Like, some suspect that if Halbrand is our future Aragorn, or...
Right. I can't see that, but...
I know.
I thought maybe he was a Isildur.
Maybe.
I saw the picture.
Okay.
Aragorn's ancestor.
Maybe.
But,
that's a theory. That's a theory that could work, too.
All right. Oh.
Yep. We're going to stop it right here. With Galadriel riding on a horse, leading people into battle?
Look, I've got no problem with warrior Galadriel.
Okay.
I really don't.
A lot of people do, so give me your hot take.
I know they do. So here's my hot take. First of all, her nickname was Man Maiden, because I guess she was the tallest female elf. There's a thing called the kinslaying. The very first time that elves battled elves was when Fëanor was leaving Valinor to go to take the ships and go to Middle-earth and try to get the Silmarils back from Morgoth. And I know this is really hard to follow.
We're going deep. Yeah, it's fine.
Super deep. Yeah. So when Fëanor's loyalists decided to go with him and swore the oath, all of his sons swore these oaths to take to get the Silmarils back. So the Silmarils were these 3 jewels that he had made using elements of the 2 trees that lit the whole planet at that point. There wasn't a sun and moon left. This is like deep.
We're going
deep origin of the Earth kind of stories. When he swore an oath to go to Middle-earth, the Teleri elves all had ships. They were the ones that built the ships. They're the ones that live in Tol Eressëa. They live in that island, which is closest to Middle-earth.
Right.
He's like, give us your ships. They're like, no. He's like, screw you.
Right.
So we're going to kill you for your ships. So, the Noldor battled the Teleri, and Galadriel took part in that fight, actually defending the Teleri. Because she's half Noldor, half Teleri.
Ooh, tough
And
call.
but she saw Fëanor, who she never liked. A lot of people didn't like him. He was probably the most talented craftsman in the history of the elves, but he was also a major dick. So back to why I don't have a problem with her being warrior, because I know she knows how to fight. Look, I mean, if they want to make her have more of a warrior background first, I'm totally cool with that. So what Fëanor did is he slayed a bunch of the Teleri, took their ships, took them all over to Middle-earth, and said, you know what? Let's burn these ships. So I don't want the other Noldor coming. Screw them. We're burning these ships. So you burn all the ships, and then Galadriel and the other Noldor actually have to go basically across the Arctic Circle to get there, and the Helcarax. And so they go...
Bringing it back.
Yeah. Someone pointed out online, they were like, Galadriel didn't go across the Helcarax in a gown. It's okay that she's in armor.
Right.
Know?
Well, and I mean, the other side of that coin that I have seen is people say, well, if Galadriel had this warrior, this commander background, as, it's kind of looking more likely that we will get to see in Rings of Power, why didn't she use any of those skills later when we see her in the current Lord of the Rings cinematic universe, the Peter Jackson films? You know, why would she be kind of in the more reserved, working from the perspective that she is before, instead of saying, well, I've got these sweet combat tactic skills and I'm a really great leader, so let me be this respected war leader. Like, what would cause that shift? And maybe in the Rings of Power we're find out.
Learn about that.
What causes that shift?
I mean, I don't know what's happening in this scene.
Yeah.
But when she first got here, the Rings of Power weren't even made yet.
Right.
And so maybe by taking one of the 3 elven rings, that actually changed her outlook a little bit on things. So
maybe we shall see. We shall see the story that they want to tell. But that is Warrior Galadriel, and then we move on to person who we don't know up against an ice troll.
They have an ice troll.
I
think I'm pretty sure that's an elf. He is dressed in the same similar outfit that Galadriel was earlier when she
hanging
was
from the ice wall.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So maybe they're part of her expedition.
That totally tracks, and one would assume that an ice troll might be near said ice wall or in the same region.
Right.
So this totally tracks. I thought the ice troll looked very cool. I'm sure there are going to be lots of different discussions about practical effects versus CGI, particularly when it comes to these type of creatures, ice troll, etc. But I thought the design with like the kind of multi-tusks and stuff looked unique. Yeah, okay. And then next we've got a quick little shot of what appears to be Linden.
Right. And there's some sort of ceremony happening or something.
There is like a council or a ceremony, but there's some folks that are kneeling. You can see the golden leaves like we talked about before. And
there's like a brazier, like a large bowl
like a big
or something.
basin, which I've seen some people draw comparisons to in Peter Jackson's films, the large basin that Galadriel
Right, the mirror.
uses.
Although it looks really steep. Like I wonder, I guess it's by the mountains that were there, I suppose. I always thought of Linden being more of like closer to flatlands, but
yeah, because it looks like a cliff dropping off into water, and I'm trying to think on the map if there is a large body of water.
We're gonna have to look that up.
We'll have to look that up. I don't know, but interesting. All right, moving on. It has
been confirmed that this is Durin the Fourth.
Durin the Fourth, who ruled the dwarven city of Khazad-dum, later known as Moria. Remember the Mines of Moria, all that kind of stuff. This is where we are. So rewind it back to Rings of Power time. And Durin the Fourth is one of the bearers of the Rings of Power, inherited from his dad.
Yeah, he gets one of the seven rings. And then Durin the Sixth was the one who delved too greedily and too deep. But this could be this is my theory, this could be a timeline smush.
Okay.
Where they take Durin the Fourth, and maybe he's the one that delves too greedily and too deep, and we see a Balrog.
There has been a lot of Balrog speculation.
Yeah.
In fact,
there's a shot.
There's
where
a
you
shot.
Might see one.
That could be a building on fire. Could be a Balrog. We're not really sure.
Yeah.
But yes, depending on how much timelines are smooshed, Balrog could actually happen, which is exciting. And FYI, for those of you watching, the Bearers of the Rings of Power, for the elves, we know we're Gandalf, Galadriel, and Elrond. There's 7 for the dwarves, and the mightiest was the one in Durin's line. 9 for the men who eventually became the Ring Wraiths, and then 1 for the Dark Lord.
Right. So I feel like we're definitely going to see stories of the 9 men also that got... Because every man that got the ring was corrupted.
Well, but became, like, super wealthy and powerful first.
Right.
So maybe we'll see all of them, like, have that rise and fall.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the series is called The Rings of Power, so chances are we're going to find out about the Rings of Power.
Okay. This is our first shot of Elrond, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me not to picture Elrond, as we've always cinematically known Elrond, but I'm trying to make peace with myself.
This is like Dawson's Creek Elrond.
Yeah, that is the perfect way to say it. 100%. That's what I was like. This is the Elrond looking smoldery shot, but the hair is 100% Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
Also, short hair elves is something I'm getting used to.
Yeah. I mean, it's traditional that they had long hair in every piece of fan art, every piece of official art, everything we've seen so far.
But I don't know in the book specifically if they say they always have long hair.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do. So, it's definitely not going against Tolkien's lore. I don't think.
Again, we are not complete experts. We have not memorized every single bit of text that there is. But, have certainly gone deeper in them, I would say, Like, Jason is my go-to person whenever I want to nerd out about Tolkien, because I know you've gone deeper into the lore than most. But Dawson's Creek Elrond is certainly here, looking smoldery.
Right.
I don't think this is supposed to be a, like, smoldery sexy shot. I think this is probably supposed to be, like, I'm very serious shot.
Right. He's like, he's pissed off about something.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
what's he holding exactly? Is that like a container? Or like he opens it up and there's a bunch of jewels in there?
I thought it was like a sword hilt.
I don't know. I
Maybe
feel
not.
like it's a container, but you might be totally right. But here's the thing. If it is a sword hilt, it looks way more like a dwarven weapon than an elven weapon. Because
he also looks like he's in a mountain, so that tracks.
Yeah, and I think there's dwarves back there, like, like smashing their mugs together or something.
Yes. And then we cut right to
Disa.
Disa, the new dwarf for the Rings of Power, new dwarven character. And it looks like she is calling or singing, as some have said, which is how dwarves communicate with mountains.
I'm excited about that. So what they said, I think, in the Vanity Fair article is that she's singing a song of lament. She sings to the mountains to...
The vibration.
To kind of judge, like, where the mithril is and where the gold is. And so you sing to it and find out where to dig. I think that that's really cool.
And now the singing to the mountains is just something that I read about for the first time in the Vanity Fair article. So I don't know that that's anything that's ever been listed in Tolkien's works before. But Tolkien's works always have a theme, and have always had a theme of music and discord in all of the creation of everything. So I feel like this is a nice, cool thing.
It's a great idea.
It's a cool ad.
Yeah, it's a great idea that somebody who really knows about Tolkien, I think, added in. Because the way Tolkien describes the way the universe was created was through music.
All right, so we've got Disa there. No beard on Disa.
Right.
And then we cut right to a shot of the shipwreck again, where we earlier saw Halbrand and someone, we can assume Halbrand, revealing Galadriel's pointy ears.
Right. And
this was weird to me.
Right. She looks pissed off. There is a lot of lore about Galadriel's hair. Right? So the fact that someone's like touching her hair and moving it, like that's going to piss her off. Is he moving it to show that she's an elf, and is he suspicious of elves?
Right. Okay. So this is what was confusing to me. Is I'm like, this was a time of relative peace.
Right.
So why would there be this kind of like,
anti-elf sentiment?
Yeah,
or something?
weird anti-elf sentiment. Like, I've never heard of that before in Tolkien lore. And of course, the Second Age, we will see the famous alliance of elves and men. So this just struck me as odd. I didn't know what they were going for here, but
I mean, I can
it's just
get
a teaser.
it.
We don't know.
In the First Age, a lot of humans were very suspicious of elves. There were humans that aligned with elves and worked with them, but then there were others that actually fought against them. So, maybe there is some suspicion there.
Maybe. I have not heard of a strained relationship between the Dunedain and the elves at this point in Tolkien history, so that struck me as I'm hoping not something that's just manufactured for conflict within the series, but I have not seen the series, always seen as this teaser, so I'm benefit of the doubt leaving it there.
A lot of people may not know this. They'll know about when Gimli asked her for a strand of her hair because he thought her hair was so beautiful, and she gave him 3 strands. Well, there's a lot of symbolism around that because Feanor, the jerk that I mentioned earlier, he asked Galadriel for 3 strands of her hair, and she said no.
No,
because
sir.
it was said that her hair reflected the light of the golden tree. There's the silver tree and the golden tree, so they actually said that the light of the gold tree was reflected in her hair.
Cool.
So Feanor wanted 3 strands of it so he could, make something out of it or craft it in some way, and she's just like, nope. So the fact that thousands of years later, like 6,000 years later, she gives 3 to Gimli is like pretty cool.
Because Gimli is pretty cool.
Yeah, and he was embarrassed and shy and didn't want to say it. And she got it out of him. So
it
wasn't
coming
like
from humility, not pride.
Right. And it wasn't coming from creepiness, I don't think. You know what I mean? Like if I was like, hey Trish, give me 3 strands of your hair. That's
Weird.
pretty creepy. That's pretty creepy.
Only if I get 3 strands of beard.
I mean, okay, fine. But
then
but
it's
we're
creepy
not,
both ways.
right,
Hey.
Right. It's a mutual creep. But no, see what I mean? Like, so that's creepy
Right.
if I ask it. But if Gimli's thinking it and she reads it in his mind and kind of gets it out of him, I think he just thought that she was this mythological creature standing in front of him. You know, that she was like this larger than life thing, and he just was enamored by her hair, like in the most purest sense, not in a creepy sense.
Not in a creepy sense. All right, but in a maybe creepy sense, we don't know.
Naked Meteor Man. Naked Meteor Man.
He's mostly naked. He's got some kind of loincloth, something going. Now, he has been called Meteor Man because we are seeing this mostly naked man in what appears to be the crash site from the meteor we saw earlier in the trailer, the fireball that was going through the sky. So I'm calling him Mystery Man because we don't know if this is actually him climbing out of the meteor. But that is the running theory right now. And if it is a man climbing out of a meteor, what? Where did he come from? Like, there is nothing that I could find in Tolkien lore to say that something would come from another world to this world. I mean, people have speculated... Right. You know, it could potentially be Maiar, but Maiar would have already been on the world and bound to the world.
They can go back and forth. Yeah,
before this. You wouldn't need to travel via meteor to come into this world. So it seems very interesting.
IMDb has him listed as the Stranger. That's his official name.
The Stranger.
Yeah.
And I know the Vanity Fair article had said that the Stranger, this mystery man, is going to be one of the series' major enigmas. So other theories I've seen that I really like is that maybe this is Tom Bombadil.
That would be so awesome.
I would be awesome.
It would make Hector Navarro so mad.
It would, and I'd be A-okay with that, Hector.
I would just be sending Hector... Tom Bombadil shots every time he's on the screen.
The reason I like that it could be Bombadil is because we don't know, like, anything about Bombadil's origin.
Right.
Or what type of creature he is. Like, we have no idea. So really, the license is there to make up whatever lore you want around Tom Bombadil.
Right.
And it's going to be okay.
He's supposedly old as Middle Earth itself. So
super OP.
Yeah, and so
and
that might not.
We don't know why.
Yeah, and that might not even be him coming to Earth in a meteor. Maybe Tom Bombadil's like, you know what? I'm gonna ride a meteor today.
I just travel via meteor because I can. But also because we haven't seen cinematic Tom Bombadil, it would be cool to see.
Yeah.
So that I love that theory. I don't think that's where they're going with this, but I do love that theory just from a nerd tinfoil hat perspective. There has been a lot of speculation that maybe this is in fact the Maiar Sauron.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
I've heard Saruman, not just Sauron, which Sauron would make sense for the story they're trying to sell too. Makes sense if we're accepting that Maiar can travel via meteorite in the first place.
Originally, so there are some writings that say that the Blue Wizards showed up in the Second Age, but more writings suggest that all 5 wizards showed up in the Third Age. But they said there's crunching timelines, so this could definitely be a timeline crunch.
And also, it looks like the Mystery Man is grabbing for a smaller framed individual. And so if the theory that we are kind of witnessing a lot of the story through the Harfoot eyes is true, this could be Harfoot meeting Mystery Man and, you know, maybe helping Mystery Man rise to power only then to destroy everything.
Right.
Which would kind of be a beautiful circle that then the world is saved by hobbits.
Again.
In the Third Age.
Yeah. Here's my theory.
Let's go.
So, when Numenor gets destroyed, Sauron's on Numenor.
Okay.
And it says that his body was destroyed and that he made his way back to Mordor eventually, right? So, who's to say Numenor's being destroyed, it's you know, through tsunamis and earthquakes, it's going under the water, and Sauron meteorites himself. Boom, he fireballs himself to Mordor or to close to Mordor.
Could definitely be that. I mean, we have no idea.
Yeah. And we're going to be wrong on so many.
We're going to be wrong, and I'm excited to be wrong because I want to be surprised
sure.
by what happens in Rings of Power. But it is fun to speculate, And when you watch it and go, yes, I totally called that, that's a really fun feeling too. All right, so that's Meteorite Man. Then we have a cool shot of a dwarf splitting a big rock. Lots of speculation as to, that could be Durin again, why the rock is being split, what's going on here. I honestly have no guess on this one. I'm just like, dwarf hitting big rock, neato.
Yeah, other dwarves looking on, like being amused.
Yes.
Or being, happy about that.
Right.
Okay, and then now we have Arondir, right?
Yeah, our new guy. New badass with a bow, Arondir.
But what's going on here?
Why has he got a chain on his foot? Is he captive, and is he like trying to destroy a structure to fall onto people, or is he like, this is like a gladiator type show of fighting skill?
Which would be, that would not be in the lore at all.
No, it would not.
It
would not.
But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he was captured
by who
and made to fight. Maybe it's like a beginning of Conan the Barbarian kind of thing.
Yes, maybe.
Fight. We'll see. Okay. And then,
this shot is super interesting.
Yeah. And I don't have a problem with him having short hair at all, by the way. He looks like an elf to me.
Yes, I was going to say that. His facial features look so much like what I'm like, when people joke around and you're like, what? If I existed in Middle-earth, what race do you think I would be based on features? I'm very round-featured, so Hobbit for sure. I'm short, round-featured. These are the features that I would be like, 100% your face.
Yeah.
Elven.
You're an elf.
The short hair, you're right, actually does not bother me because I'm like, yep, spot on. And
the golden armor, I think that's really cool.
And which elf this is,
No, we've been told, actually.
We've been told that it's Finrod.
Right.
Great.
Yeah. So this is Galadriel's brother, Finrod.
First age, potentially then.
Right, so this has got to be a first age battle.
Unless they keep Finrod alive and there's going to be some kind of like, surprise, he's still alive.
I mean, they could, I guess, but that would be weird.
It would be a large departure.
Because his death is so epic. He gets killed by a werewolf.
Yeah.
And he gets captured and put in prison in a castle that he built, which is really sad. That was taken over by Sauron, and then gets killed by a werewolf in a dungeon. In prison. Yeah.
It's the saddest. But if they go werewolf prison death for Finrod, then this is first age. Yeah. This is a flashback.
But his death also ties in with Beren and Luthien. It also ties in eventually with Aragorn. So he gives Barahir, who's Beren's father, his ring, and that's the ring that Aragorn has. Once again, 6,000 years later, 10,000 years later, I can't remember. But so Finrod is a huge link to everything, and the death and the heroic death and his sacrifice that he made is a huge link. So if they keep him alive and they're like, guess what, he's still alive, I'm gonna be like, that kind of cheapens it.
It would have a domino effect to a lot of other things.
But here we are, we're just speculating, who knows, maybe we're just gonna see the most epic of epic battles.
And I would love that. I am excited to see epic first stage battle. If, like you said, that's this could be from those first 2 episodes or whatever that are delving into first stage to set us up for maybe why Galadriel's so angry and brash. Okay, then we have a shot of large hand and tiny hand.
Mm-hmm. Not a child's hand, a proto-hobbit / Harfoot.
A Harfoot hand. Now, there's been some speculation as to who this large hand might be. All we have to go off of is a little bit of tattered, like, fingerless glove type thing. Mm-hmm. Some people are really hoping that it's Gandalf.
He wouldn't have been there, but you know what? I'm okay with that too. If they want to crunch that and say Gandalf was there early, I'm cool with that. But what I've been told is that that's the stranger's hand. Because
which makes sense if Stranger's holding Harfoot's hand in Meteorite Man shot.
And maybe they give him like some tattered rags to put on.
So he's not just in a loincloth.
Right. Because in the poster, the stranger is holding an apple, which is very, like, to me, that shot of the apple, I was like, is this like some Snow White?
That's exactly what I thought when I saw it. I was like, Evil Queen from Snow White is now in the Lord of the Rings Tolkien verse.
Yeah, so I think that's the stranger. Maybe that's our narrator, once again. grabbing his hands.
Yeah, maybe. And then it's, new series September 2nd. So The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power does debut Friday, September 2nd. My birthday is just after that, so I'm thinking that it's coming for my birthday. Yeah. Yes, it's an early birthday
Screening
present.
Party. Yeah.
Totally. So let's kind of delve into now the rights versus no rights and how that plays into all of this, because some of the stories that I think a lot of the Tolkien nerds like Jason and I are hoping will be told probably legally can't be told through this series.
Right. But a lot more can than we realize.
Okay, tell me about it, Jason.
So, first of all, big shout out to James Tauber at the Digital Tolkien Project.
Okay.
I was only able to transcribe 137.
Oh, only 137. Yeah. And that only takes you through the first age, you said?
Yeah, it goes a little bit into the second age. But he basically went back through every book that the showrunners said that they had rights to. So the showrunners said they have rights to The Hobbit and the 3 Lord of the Rings books. And that's it. Now, in the appendices, it does have a lot of details about Numenor and things like that. But what you don't realize right away is that there are so many references to the first and second age in dialogue throughout The Hobbit, Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. So he compiled as much as he possibly could, and he's still adding to it to this day.
That's awesome.
So James Tauber, we salute you. Here's what is mentioned in these 4 books that they have the rights to. Fëanor made the 3 Silmarils and filled them with the light of the 2 trees. The 2 trees gave light to the land of the Valar. The 2 trees were called Terperion and Laurelin. Morgoth destroyed the 2 trees. Morgoth stole the Silmarils. Morgoth took the Silmarils to Middle-earth. There were no trees in Middle-earth descended from Laurelin. Galathion descended from Telperion. Nimloth descended from Galthalion. So Galthalion is the tree that's in Numenor, and Nimloth is the tree that's in Gondor.
Got it.
And so they were descendants of that tree. Morgoth guarded the Silmarils in the fortress of Thangorum. So basically, there is a lot. If you go through this, and I could go
more than you'd think.
There's more than you would think that are mentioned in though, because Tolkien was such a great master of lore. He peppered his lore throughout all of his Middle-earth stories. What's interesting is there are some things that are mentioned, but there are some things that aren't. So as you probably know, one of my favorite stories in the Silmarillion is Turin's tale, which is such a tragic tale.
I know. Yeah. I actually went and read that after you were like, girl, you gotta you gotta hear this super sad story.
Yeah, it's so tragic, and it's like a Greek tragedy. That was not mentioned in The Lord of the Rings, so we will never hear anything about Turin.
Got it.
Unless they get the rights to Silmarillion somewhere down the line.
Got it.
We know about Luthien Tinuviel and Beren, and we know about their romance. There's so many things that you think are all Silmarillion that aren't. So to Finrod.
And Galadriel.
And Galadriel. So we know that. So Galadriel was of the royal house of Finarfin, who for quite a while was actually the king of all the Noldor elves. Galadriel's brother was Finrod Felagund.
Yep.
Finrod was the king of Nargothrond. Finrod gave his life to save Beren. Finrod had given a ring to Barahir, which Beren recovered, which eventually made its way to Aragorn. There are all these this lattice work, these points of lore that I think that they're going to fill in. They're going to fill in.
And
the
gaps. They're going to have to connect the dots and do that in the way that will tell a good story and make a great TV show, and at the same time being respectful. It's walking this fine line between pleasing the diehard fans and pleasing the casuals and making it good specifically for that new medium, because every medium is different. How you tell a story in every medium is different. It's why we're always talking about video game to screen ports or comic book to screen ports or vice versa, screen to video game. Or it's always very interesting to me to see how those adaptations change things and why they change things to fit the new medium. And, sometimes I would say the team does it better than others. And we've seen major successes and major fails across that. And I think all of us that are huge fans hope that this is a major success of adaptation. Yeah. Because it would be really cool to see Second Age and First Age on screen. We have not gotten that at all yet. I understand the people that are cautious And I think Jason and I both have our points that we're a little
we're cautious
about as well. Whatever this new adaptation, however they decide to tell the story, it might end up being for you and it might not. And we will have no idea until we see it. I've seen a lot of people coming out and saying hot takes in one direction or the other already. But I try not to do that when we only have a little bit to go off of.
Yeah, we have barely any dialogue, just a narration, which may or may not even be part of the show. Those lines might not even be in the show.
For sure.
And we have no dialogue from anyone else.
Right.
And just literally flash, 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 flash. Do we know when the first real trailer's coming? Have they announced that?
I don't know. Let me see if I can do a little quick Google search.
In the meantime, I'm going to look at my original Tolkien
yes, show
cycle.
And tell from Jason.
So when Tolkien was actually still with us, he got together with a composer named Donald Swann, and they actually took a lot of the poems from Lord of the Rings and made music out of it. And this book is so beautiful. There's Tangwar at the top of every page, and it's just like, look at that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So
and being someone who is such a wonderfully talented musician and a Tolkien fan,
this is gold to me. So
that's amazing.
One of my most prized possessions.
Okay, I'm looking through the Ring of Power Twitter account, which is at LOTR on Prime, and I don't see any kind of tease as to when we can expect a new trailer.
And you know what? They might drop. It's either going to be well announced, or they're going to drop it. They're going to pull a Beyonce on us and just drop a new album.
I mean, they might. This has been a Lord of the Rings on Prime, or Lord of the Rings Rings of Power, as we now can officially call it, teaser trailer breakdown from Jason and I.
Yeah, I'm so glad we could do this. We should do more.
I feel like we should do more of these. Let us know what type of content you would like to see more of surrounding Rings of Power and surrounding Middle-earth and all of that, because honestly, this is something we do every now and then without cameras. Yeah. And Jason was like, why don't we just
film it?
Why don't we just do it for the internet now that Rings of Power is coming out? And I was like, you're a smart man, Jason. For many reasons, Jason's a smart man, but this one in particular, good call.
I'm glad to be here with you doing this. I'm thrilled. Thank you.
Thank you, those of you who watched this, and let us know what you want to see more of. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.